Hey guys, which would you choose, data manager or TMF specialist? Coming up right after the intro. Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another video. Today we've got a viewer submitted question. And this viewer actually commented down in the comments and asked this question on whether they should go into data management or TMF as a TMF specialist. Now, if you are interested in asking any questions, you can either comment down below this video. If you're listening on the podcast, email us eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. But I've also got a new method that you guys can use to get in touch. You can actually text me at, I've got a Google number here. So text me at 910-502-3732. Once again, that's 910-502-3732. Obviously, that number will be in the description box down below, and you can either comment or email also if you have a question. I'd prefer email if it's a long question. But you can also give me a call if you have any questions, want to get your resume reviewed, or have questions about that process, that program, or want to schedule some one-on-one interview coaching and mock prep there. So give us a call there if you're interested in that. But as far as data management versus TMF specialists go, this person was really interested in the career growth of it because I think they were a TMF specialist already. Well, there's some good news and bad news here. So TMF specialist is, relatively newish over the past couple of years. Sponsors and CROs are getting more and more interested in having a clean TMF because that is something that is really put on the back burner during the entire study because they're putting out fires elsewhere. And then when it's time to deliver the TMF to the sponsor, the TMF looks really bad. There's tons of missing documents. There's 1572s that are missing. There are people not on the delegation log. There's delegation logs missing. There are monitoring letters that are missing. All of that has to be gathered from the site or the CRA and put into the TMF. So they have actually put a person in charge, a TMF specialist they're called, or a TMF manager, and they are in charge and directly report to the project management team on the status of the TMF. Now, this is a very important position because the TMF is the most important deliverable to the sponsor. Once again, I'm gonna say it again. The TMF is the most important deliverable to the sponsor. So they actually are putting someone in charge now. So that's good. And TMF specialists can make some pretty good money too. But the downside is I believe it kind of pigeonholes you because now you're only used to managing TMF and setting up TMFs and analyzing the health of the TMF. So if you just want to be pigeonholed and have one move, then you could do TMF specialist. Now, I've never been a TMF specialist, but from what I get from the outside looking in, it's very, niche in that sense that you're only going to be doing a couple of different things. And, it's a good place to be because you're going to be really good at TMF and understand the ins and outs of the TMF. But I think that's definitely a stepping stone to something else, maybe a project manager or something else in the CRO world, definitely project management being one of them. But as a data management professional, I would prefer that because, for one, it is a somewhat easy transition into the clinical side of things, clinical operations, so monitoring, because they work hand in hand with CRAs and in-house monitors monitoring the data. So they work together. So I feel like it's a somewhat of an easy transition if you wanted to go from data management to the clinical operations side of the business. And also, data is going to be huge. I don't know if you've noticed, but our phones collect data. You're listening either on Facebook, Instagram, however you're listening to this, Anchor, they're collecting data on you. And of course, that data has to be analyzed. And that person's either going to be a data manager or some data management professional. So I love data management because everything is collecting data and they're going to need people to analyze it. So even if something bad happens in the clinical research field and the business all of a sudden goes to zero. There's no more companies to work for in the clinical research space, and it all goes to zero. I feel like data managers will have a relatively easier time getting picked up elsewhere because of that data analyzation and data management skill set. So I feel like that's a very, very popular skill set, or it's not popular enough, but it will be getting more popular as we get more and more data, and we need more and more people to handle all this data. So I would prefer data management because I think it has a lot more uses outside of TMF. TMF is very specific to this industry, and I never like being stuck with only one move. I like developing skills that are applicable elsewhere too, so that's something to think about. But really, they're asking which way should you go. I mean, I think data management only goes so high also. If you want to make it to the executive level, you've got to go into the project management route. So you go project manager, project director, and then up to vice president of a department or something like that. So I feel like you could do both. Do a couple years in data management, do a couple years in TMF, and then I feel like you have a very good chance to make it as a project manager after that, because you understand two fundamental parts of the clinical trial process. You got the TMF aspect, which is increasingly popular, and then you've got the data management aspect. And a project manager really is somebody that incorporates all these things. They get, clinical updates, they get data management updates, they get study startup updates, they get TMF updates. So if you have worked in all of those units, if you do a year data management, a year TMF, a year study startup, a year, monitoring, then you have understood and been on the ground level of every single aspect of being a project manager. And I think the only thing you're missing is probably the finance and budgeting part, which you would learn as a project manager. So I feel like, hey, if you're in one of those, you can jump to another one. If you're in TMF, you can jump to data management. If you're in data management, you can jump to TMF. And you may have to start out at the bottom in that arena, in that department, but that's okay because you have long-term goals out of that. But as far as like sticking into one and then, rising up through that, I think either way, you've got to get into project management unless you go sales or something like that. But if I was choosing one, I'd prefer data management because I feel like it has a lot more applicability outside the industry. And I think there's going to be a lot of focus on data management also. Hope that answers your question. If you've got any other questions on data management or TMF specialist, I know I've done a video on exactly what a TMF specialist is, so make sure you check that out. Since this question came up, I'm going to do a video on what a data management person is and go in a lot more detail on what they do on a day-to-day basis. So if you're listening to this video and you're in the industry and you feel like you've got a unique perspective, then reach out to us. I'd love to interview you, have you on, learn about your story, and we can share that to the rest of the listeners also. So once again, email us eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com if you'd like to connect and be interviewed on this, or if you just want to reach out to touch base, etc., etc. So what do you think? Data management or TMF? What are you choosing? All right, guys, take care.